What's up, y'all? This is Raj Smoove. Thank y'all again for tuning in to Convos from the Yeaux. I'm in here today with my homie Pell.
What's up? What's up?
How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
That's what I appreciate you being here. I am extremely happy that you are back in the city now.
Me too. Me too. It's been a long time coming, but it's for a good reason.
So, what was it that made you leave New Orleans?
That's a good question. We're jumping off the bat. I feel like what made me leave New Orleans was opportunities that I hadn't seen in New Orleans. When I was 22 years old. I was offered an opportunity to go out to Los Angeles and record some music with a label that was up and coming at the time, 300, ironically, right? And we had shout out to Jeff. And I was able to do a lot more music in a shorter amount of time than I had been in, Louisiana, Mississippi, New Orleans, and Jackson and Starkville, where I was recording mostly. So I think that's really what made me even think about wanting to leave in a real way. I think there's such a rich culture in New Orleans that it's always that push and pull of, well, I don't want to sacrifice that creative spirit and this energy that I'm surrounded by to go somewhere else. And I think that stops a lot of artists from making that leap, you know what I mean, into a new market or to just go experience life and explore. So that was pretty much the main driving factor, the amount of opportunities that I felt were out there when it was time for me to go.
So, what was it that made you want to come back here?
So
Now that you've been there, done it, and now you back.
So coming back has really just been about, it's the spirit of New Orleans, I feel like, is what's driving me back here. And even though I live in LA, I feel like I always make sure every 1 to 2 months I'm always back here and I'm recording with a bunch of different artists down here, connecting with my people, also seeing my family, you know what I mean? And I think that's been a big part of what keeps my music going. I feel like it's my relationship. So I've always put those as top priority over everything. And with COVID hitting, last year really strong and, everybody being in a situation where we were kind of stuck. I felt like, or initially I was looking at it as something that was more of a quarantine or like a lockdown, but I started to see it more of like solitude. And I felt one of the things that I noticed when I was reflecting on where I was at in my career and why I love Los Angeles and why I love where I am, I felt as though the one thing that kept missing, that I felt like I was missing, was that home touch and the people who inspired me to make music in the first place. So what inspired me to come back is a collective of people that, I started making music with and that I've been continuously making music with that maybe isn't out yet, you know what I mean? But it's coming out. And I felt like now is the perfect time to, rebuild and reconnect, because we're all in this situation where, it exposes to you who you need to be around. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's been an interesting conversation about, trying to keep our diamonds and all the talented people from here in the city. Right. Like there's always been a flight from New Orleans because people know like, New Orleans has a lot of music, but we don't really have no music industry. Like there's no real opportunities down here like that. Something we were talking about the other day about you being out there in LA, and you made a comment about how you had to kind of like move around in LA versus, being in New Orleans. I guess being from New Orleans and being out in that type of environment, because you have a lot of people that go to different places like, I'm about to go to Atlanta and I'm going to make it big, or I'm going to go to New York and make it big. Right. There's a lot of people like you that, well, not like you, because you've been able to go out there and be successful. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really made a name for yourself. What kind of eyes from being from New Orleans and going out there do you feel like really gave you an opportunity to flourish out there like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that people look to New Orleans to like poach talent and bring it everywhere else. You know what I mean? I think that that's always been the history. Like you even think about like a lot of jazz legends and like how they went to New York and up on the East Coast and did a lot of stuff, and people even going to Atlanta from here, you know, going to Miami, a lot of our hip hop heroes, you know what I mean? And I think we always saw that as a path. And I felt like with my situation, when I went to LA, I definitely noticed that, you know, okay, I walk into the room, they immediately treat me a little bit different because I'm from New Orleans, because it's something that's foreign to them, and it's so unique, you know what I mean, to be from New Orleans, and also to talk like how I talk, because I'm not talking like I'm from New Orleans. I'm also not making music that one would readily identify as New Orleans. So it's just like all these things combining in the project, like the projects that I made while I was in LA and that I've been making while I'm in LA. It's just been, you know, open ears. Everybody's been listening. So I've been really blessed, man. I can't even lie.
Well, it's kind of like your process when working on a project. Like, you know, rappers and producers and stuff, you know, always talk about like influences and like kind of where they get their inspiration from. Like, what is it for you that makes a Pell project come together and make it uniquely your own?
True. Wow, that's a good question.
Lot to unpack there.
I always, it's funny because like I always try to cop out and I'll say like, oh, my creative process is a lack of a creative process, which I'm starting to figure out is bullshit. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's no, that's not true. I think where I start is I just start by whenever I feel like I'm on a roll when it comes to making music, because you know there's ebbs and flows when it comes to creativity. Whenever I'm on, that's when I consider I'm making a project, you know what I mean, or I'm doing something or for a bigger idea than just getting in the studio, and that's when a project kind of formulates in my mind. I'd say it takes about 6 to 12 months for me to really live and really something happen to me or something, you know, I learn new information that I can actually feel like I is deserving of putting on a record. And that takes time for me because I'm not, while I do read a lot, I don't wake up every morning and read, or I don't, you know, do crazy stuff every day in my life. I think as much as I would like to think, you know, I mean, I think my life is great, but it's just like, I don't want to be redundant when it comes to releasing records. I want to show growth, and that takes time, and that's not, none of us are above that. So it's kind of like, I saw an interesting quote today. I'm going to segue a little bit. I saw an interesting quote. It's one of those Instagram quotes, once again.
One of those Instagram quotes.
But it was one of them. One of them was like, it was talking about how, you know, because of this time that we're in, there's been like a psychological warfare going on in the minds of artists that they have to produce a certain amount of content at the highest level because there's nothing but time, and there's also nothing but content being driven down our throats every day. So it's kind of like I feel that pressure sometimes, and I'd call it pressure only because it's something that I wouldn't think about unless I was on social media or unless I was on the internet. So that has affected my process a little bit more. I think I peep that when I'm really in the zone, I get off of social media because I don't want to ruin it. And yeah, going back to fully, I'm sorry, I had to go.
Oh, no, that's fine.
But going back to like the meat and potatoes, like I think it starts with, I'll pick albums. I'll pick like 5 to 6 albums that I grew up listening to or I'm listening to currently. And I'll play those every morning. And when I get into the studio, I'll be like, okay, I'm feeling like this today. And it's from one of these 5 albums. And I'll go in and I'll start like making melodies or beats that are kind of around it. Or I'll have a producer come in with me and make some beats that are similar to what I've been listening to. And, you know, we'll chop it up in the studio. I like to talk in the studio a lot. So like sometimes I've been in sessions where I'll even invite a producer and they might be mad at me because we don't even make a song. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we'll just wind up talking, and then the next session, you know, it's the greatest thing ever. You know what I mean? It's the best song I ever made. So I kind of keep that conversational and casual approach to making an album until I wake up, you know, 6 months later, and I'm like, oh, wait, we got 14 tracks that are ready to go. You know what I mean? And then I'll build a concept from there because the concept is in, you know, the life experience. So. In the conversations.
I want to know what those 5 albums are.
Ooh. For this one? For the next one? I mean, I'll go back to the first time that I really realized that it was five. Like I would take 5 albums. My brother, I remember when I was in high school, I used to play football, and I didn't want to play football anymore because my brother was really good at football, and he had gone to college. He wound up going to the NFL. Brother is amazing. Micah Pellerin, look him up. Crazy. But I remember that wasn't for me because they wanted me to play defense, and I wasn't going. So I'm a receiver. So it was like I remember the day I quit, my brother drove from college to see me, and was like, "Man, why you quitting, man? You can't quit. But if you want to quit, if you really want to like make beats and stuff, because at the time I was kind of like interested. I had a Korg beat machine. I had like it was 12 pads and then like a mode and a bank and like the little silver joints. So like, and I didn't even know how to use that shit, but that was like really what I was interested in. So I remember he came and visited me, and he gave me Mace Harlem World, Lupe Fiasco's The Cool, because it had just come out at that time. Kanye West, College Dropout, and Late Registration, Fuji's The Score.
Okay.
And that kind of set a little bit of a mental note for me as to like the textures that I wanted to like work with sonically, because while some of those are all over the place, there's something about the storytelling in those and something about the depth of the music that I just fell in love with, and that's what I think started my first couple of projects, even up until I made like albums. And Floating While Dreaming, I feel like my first one definitely came from that era of what I was listening to.
One of my favorite Neptune's records was on that Harlem World, the Why You Over There Looking At Me.
Oh wow, of course.
Yo, like that shit was banging.
Dog,
in the House of Blues.
Like Pharrell, man, that's I mean, like honestly, I feel like every album I work on has like a NERD or Pharrell solo project attached to what I'm thinking about mentally. I can't get it out of my head. It's too good. So that's one of my idols in this, for real.
I mean, it's interesting too, because like you were born in how low?
92.
You were born in 92.
Yeah.
So like the Mace, the Fugees, like you was like 4 or 5 years old.
I know. My brother had to put me on. Like I wasn't really, and that's funny because like you think of these things like happening while you're growing up, and I'm not listening to them while I'm growing up. But when you look back, it's still a lot of those things translate, especially stuff from the 90s. I feel like you're seeing that everywhere you look, especially like in R&B, in the R&B world, definitely. But I think even in the hip hop, and even like there's something that's happening right now where there's so many different channels to receive music that I feel like a lot of the things that I missed out on when I was growing up are coming back around in some type of way. Like, you know what I mean? Even like even you could take like rock example here, like a rock artist and like his or her song lyrics being translated and interpolated into a rap record. It's happening like literally every week, and it's beautiful to see.
It's weird for me because like I'm at that point where like I hear something and it'd be like, damn, like that song came out 20 years ago, like that song came out 15 years ago, like
Fact.
You know, and it doesn't seem like it was so long ago. But it's interesting to me because, you know, what made me think about that was your point about there's so many different ways to hear music nowadays. Right. And that sometimes I go down the YouTube rabbit hole and I end up on like the reaction videos of people that are hearing like, you know, Nothing But a G thing for the first time. And it's blowing their mind, and like they didn't even know like Dr. Dre rapped or like Snoop got down like that. And it's like, I perceive it as like, yo, it kind of feels like it was yesterday.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? But it's something that's brand new for them. But there's so much that I feel kind of gets lost in the mix because there's so many channels for us to get music through and get this content from. There's so many things trying to fight for our attention. And then I feel like part of the inheritance of handing down great music has kind of got broken a lot. You know what I'm saying? Because,
definitely.
There used to be like, you listen to the radio they played a wider variety of music. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
everybody didn't have their own channel for just what they want to listen
Yeah.
to. You kind of had to hear what you want to listen to in context of all of this other stuff that kind of like opened up your palette. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, for you as an artist, like how have you been able to kind of like break through all that noise to get what it is that you're doing in people's ears with all of this other stuff that's coming at them?
That's a really good question. I think it's like not allowing that great like mountain of I have to cut through all these people to be heard to distract you from, you know, taking the first step. I think like oftentimes it can seem like such an unsurmountable task to like cut through all of this shit that artists will spend way more time trying to control things that really once the song's out or once whatever the rollout for the album is out, like they can't do anything after that. You know what I mean? And you can continue to market, spend money, do whatever. But I think realistically, the people are what make things grow. And I think you just got to be in front of the people, and you got to make sure that when it's time and it's your time to put out music, that you're not hurting yourself by like, you know, delaying stuff. Like I think a lot of times I used to in my career, I feel like would be like, no, it's not ready yet on a record that 3 months later I don't change a thing about it and I put it out and everybody loves it and I'm like, oh man, like what was I thinking? Why did I wait so long? You know what I mean? And I think it's just about that and timing, you know? I think timing is super crucial, and you got to understand like that there's a season for everything. And sometimes, you know, when it comes to music especially, you may be ahead of the curve, you may be behind the curve, but just making sure that you're paying attention to what people are listening to if that matters to you. Because, you know, there's some artists, and especially we're from New Orleans, there's some artists that don't care about what's going on outside of the city. So that's not for them to care about all this other noise. Like they're going to exist in their world, in their chamber, and you know, super feed their fans, which is still great. You know what I mean? But I think in terms of if you want to continue to grow and continue to, you know, expand as an artist and as a business or a brand, you definitely got to pay attention and just make sure that you're like constantly actively doing things. And I think that's one thing I had to learn, because as an independent artist, it is I'm recently like re-independent too. Oh wait, let me step up. I'm gonna actually have to take this off.
Oh,
if that's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, wear your masks on at home. Don't be like me. If you're watching this,
We're gonna spray all the Lysol on the mics and everything.
I know, right? Lysol it down. Wipe me down. But I think what I was saying is, I think being an independent artist has taught me a lot about just like, wow, what I'm not like, what I wasn't paying attention to before. And I think oftentimes us as artists just need to make sure that we're putting a foot forward like every day.
Do you prefer to be independent?
Oh, I love it. Yeah. I love it. I think it's way more rewarding, and everything that I release is, it just feels like it's fully like for the vision and for the journey. Whereas when you're working with a label, I don't think every situation that like isn't an independent situation is bad. But I think for me and how I view the relationship, it makes it feel like I'm working for somebody else.
Yeah.
So that automatically makes like my whole mood down when I get into the studio, because I already know that I have to go past extra amounts of barriers just for it to come out the way that, you know, I want and I'm happy and I'm proud of, because people gave me money or something like that. You know what I mean? I think it's, or support or resources or something like that. And I think that's not a good trade. You know what I mean? This is like, I'm one of those artists I'm very sensitive about my stuff. And the moment I feel like it's for somebody else and not for me, I immediately check out. You know,
No, that's real talk. I've been in situations too, like just doing beats for other people. Like I always enjoy doing what I do when I'm kind of like just doing my own vision and doing what it is that speaks to me, you know. And for the longest time, as an artist, as a producer, even as a DJ too, like, you know, I would do what I thought was dope, and other people would be like, man, Raj, get out of here. We ain't trying to hear that. But then years down the line, they like, yo, Raj, like,
Yeah.
that shit is banging. What you do?
That's
like,
that
yo, I've
timing.
been doing the same thing.
That's that timing thing. It always comes back around. It always comes back around. Like, and that's why I think, like you said, like sticking to your guns. Where to PJ Morton?
Facts. What's up to the homie?
What's up, bro? Big bro. I think that's all it is sticking to your guns, sticking to and believing in yourself, even when it's only 5 people at the show. Because that 5, and touring was a big thing for me too. So I think that's a whole nother.
Yeah, how was that like? Because a lot of people don't necessarily get to have that road life like that until they
now,
really
none
pop.
of us are.
I mean, facts. But being out there, like what was that like for you? Like, how did you enjoy it?
I like it. I like performing. I don't like touring as much as I like performing. Just like having a performance. I think everything that goes into tour, and all respect to everybody that makes that happen. I think that's a beautiful thing. I think sometimes, but before 2020, I definitely would. My answer would have been completely different. Like, I love tour. I'm always want to be on tour. I think it's a little bit different when you realize how you can't really protect your space as much. You know what I mean, on the road. And I think that's the only downside. Everything else is an upside. I think new experiences, new fans, new ways of performing music that you've already recorded is always the best. Because like, I could listen to one of my records like once a day, every day or whatever, and it start to feel dull. But something about being able to perform and react to other people's energy, when I see them reacting, I get hype. You know what I mean? And then in turn, they get hype, and it's something that is a special moment. So, yeah, touring has been the greatest thing. And my OG always told me, Nesby Phipps, word to Nesby.
Shout out to Nesby.
He always told me, make sure that you're performing in like a 300 to 500 mile radius from where you live. And I've always kept that true from the inception of everything that I was doing. Making sure that I was out here on the road, like and doing stuff. So yeah.
Well, there was something interesting that you said about it would have been a different answer in 2014. Like I love the road, I love being on tour. That there's something that, and this ain't even like music. Like, this is kind of like more like human condition. Like you see things that you think are gonna be great, and then you do it, and then you realize what it is, and it's kind of like, what. I'm cool on that.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, even from like equipment, you know what I'm saying? Like, I remember, when I first was like, yo, I can't wait to get an MPC 2000 or whatever, and I get it, and I'm banging out on it, but it's just kind of like, the process of claiming or achieving those goals. And then once that kind of becomes the status quo,
right,
moving past that into, all right, I got to keep climbing this mountain. I got to keep climbing this mountain. Like, how have you been able to, keep yourself motivated with those? I don't even want to say like it's a disappointment, but it's like when you get that major deal, and it's like, yo, I got the deal, and then you find out what the deal is, or like now what the environment is. You're like, man, I don't like this shit no more. You know what I'm saying?
I feel it. You just keep I keep I'm gonna say that I keep the energy going by my love of like creating, and I think every part of the journey is meant to be inspiring. You know what I mean? Whether or not it's something that you are happy about, or something that shows you that you need to be doing something different. I think I take all of those moments with a grain of salt, as long as I can continue to create. And you talking about the MPC, that was so funny. I bought like an MPC a while ago, and I hated that shit.
For real?
I literally couldn't use it well. And now look at me now, I'm using like a Ableton Push and stuff like that, machine, stuff like that. But I at first, because I watched like insert Kanye video here, or I watched like stuff from a lot of my favorite producers when I was growing up, like using MPCs or doing things a specific way, that I realized like that's not how I can do it. That's not when I'm most creative. And you know what I mean? I had to like learn how to pivot, and even when it gets bigger to like shows, and like learning how, like, I've had shows that weren't, and I consider myself a great performer. I love performing. I've had shows where I've been like, oh, that didn't go right, or I was like up there somewhere else. You know what I mean? My mind was somewhere else when I was up on the stage, and those moments I always go back and I'll look at whatever the set is and look at where I am in my life, or you know what I'm doing and what I've experienced, and be like, okay, that's why this doesn't work. That's why, because I'm not creating anything new from it. It's too old. I have songs that perform well on Spotify, Apple, whatever, that I won't even perform now because I don't have an emotional connection to it, and that's gonna stifle my creativity. You know what I mean? You can't go forward if you're consistently looking backwards. And I think there's always that delicate balance, right? Because you have to know where you came from in order to see where. I mean,
also too, like, you know, sometimes you gotta get the fans what they want, like, you know. If
yeah, but like
play Free Bird, like you know what I'm saying, like people want to hear like their favorite songs,
but they do want to hear their favorite songs, but they want more than that. They want to be excited when you perform their favorite song. Otherwise, they could go to karaoke. Like if they come to see you perform shit, they want you to feel. They want to see you feel like you're more in tune with the music than it sounded on record. And if you are, you know, if there's a disconnect in your mental with a song that you've done, like let's say in my example, my first project came out 2014, my first like for sale project. There's certain things that on there are very successful. I would say for me, I consider them successful, that I will not perform because I am at a different space in my life. And if I were to perform it, people could tell that I wasn't in that same space, and they would want me to, like, my fans, I feel like, are smart enough to be like, oh, Pell's not on that anymore, so I don't expect Pell to perform that, even though I love it. You know what I mean? Like, I want that new, like, the new energy, because it's about the journey with me.
I want to compliment you on that, because what that imparts to me is that Pell is bigger than his songs. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times you have songs that are bigger than the artist, but you know, for you to have fans that are actually in tune with you and care about what it is that you want to give them artistically, that says a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, about longevity, you know, you always hear stuff about like one-hit wonders, and, you know, people like their songs get bigger than they are as the artists. You know what I'm saying? To where people don't care what it is that you're going through or where you at in your creative space. They just want to hear what it is that they want to hear. So I think that's for you to be in that mind space and for you to have that relationship with your crowd. I think that's extremely important.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, it's all love to fans and making sure that they get the best of me, and like anything that whatever they listen and love, I you know, try my hardest to make sure that there's more of that for them. But I feel like once again I feel like I do a good job at that. But like I know that they can see through to like who I am, because it's all over my music, right? Like a lot of my music is very emotional and very like introspective and true to who I actually am outside of the record, that they could tell. Like I just know they could tell.
Being that kind of, you know, authentic in your music.
What's that?
Does that scare you, being authentic in your music like that?
Oof. Yeah. I mean, every time you release a record, there's this, you know, feeling in your stomach and your gut that's like, oh, like I'm getting this out into the world. There, like, it's open to the world to judge, critique, you know, and because I put so much of myself out there in there. I mean, yeah, I got over it a while ago, but I think every time I'm about to release something, it always still feels like that, for sure, because they're pieces of me. You know?
Yeah, I always get to hide behind other people's music. Like, you know, when I'm DJing, I'm playing other people's songs. Like, I still have to kind of, you know, come in there with that energy, regardless of how I feel or how I feel about the music that I have to play. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, it's been a long time since I've been able to, like, really play music that I would listen to in my free time.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, a lot of the music, it's not always for me, but it's not about me. It's about like you talking about, like the energy with the crowd, and they give you energy and you give them that energy back. Yeah. That's what it's always kind of been about with me. But it's always other people's music. And then when I'm doing, you know, producing and doing beats, I'm still like I'm behind other people's emotion. Like I'm not necessarily the face that's out here saying, look, this is how I feel about a subject or whatever. Because even, if I help, if I write on a record that's for somebody else, people are always going to take the singer as that this is what you feel, this is what you think. They're not looking at Raj like, yo, like, Raj, you really feel that way about this situation? Yeah. Like, did you go through a relationship like that? Like, what's, what's going on? So,
but you could put that in there. It's like, it's more of a conversation because you're reading that energy of the room and, y'all are getting that back and forth exchange because you see how people are responding to the beats and the lyrics of the songs, whatever. Like, it also is that conversation of, like, I'm here with you mentally that's
still
super
different,
cool
though,
about what you do.
From being the artist and, when the music you're putting out is saying like this is me, this is who I am.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like that's still a different thing. Like,
definitely.
I don't have to be, if when I was doing my COVID live streams, I'm doing my little slow jam mix. If I'm playing a song about being heartbroken doesn't necessarily mean that I'm heartbroken.
True.
But when Pell is playing some Pell music, people are going to assume and take it as, yo, this is Pell's personal experience. And this is something that he's talking about, stuff that he's gone through. So like that, I always admire artists for being able to do that and put themselves in that vulnerable space. You know what I'm saying? I enjoy the conversations in the studio because then, I'm talking to artists and I could be, we all kind of like put it all out there. You know what I'm saying? I really enjoy those conversations, but that's different from being out in public in front of the camera. Like I can tell, like as soon as somebody, try to take a picture or something, I immediately go into, media mode. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just, we just hanging out, having a good time, having a conversation type thing. So that's interesting to me with, just artists have to go through and take that step to really say, you know what, I'm going to put all of this out here on the table for y'all.
True.
So I admire that. And I would definitely, put money on that's part of the reasons why you have been able to be successful and cut through the noise because, being authentic, being who you are, if you're original, nobody else can do that. They can't get that from nowhere else except from you.
True. Thank you, man.
So
thank you.
That's
dope. And you touched on something because I don't think I would have still thought this way if the most honest records of mine weren't the most successful. Because, I feel like there is that, when you put that energy out there and it's reciprocated, it's an aha moment. You're like, oh, my God, it actually clicks to be yourself and be unique and give all of yourself into this. So
that's always like the story, though, because, like, the folks who, like, when I fall down the YouTube rabbit hole about, like, movie, critiques of movies and stuff, and it's always, like, the original movies or stories that take a chance that people really love. You know what I'm saying? But, the folks that try to, like what everybody's complaining about, like Star Wars, like they took, Force Awakens to redo the original Star Wars movie, kind of like beat for beat. Like you're not really introducing anything new into the zeitgeist. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna mimic what was successful before because that's the formula, so I can be successful now. And those things never seem to last the test of time to me.
True.
Personally.
Very true. Saying all the right. Yeah, that's it. That's true, man.
Before we get done, I definitely want to talk about global warming because I know that's something big that you've been pushing.
Yes.
And what's up? Explain to people what global warming is.
Okay, so Global Wrmng is a collective of artists, producers, business executives in the music industry, all from New Orleans, coming together to make an organization that helps artists that are up and coming to even established artists understand pieces of the music business that they may have missed and also provide a way to help distribute and collaborate on music. So the way that it first came about was in LA, actually, ironically. I was working in a session with Malik 95 and me and Malik Malik and Mika Jasper. He's a really good producer. He went to school down here from Boston. Incredible musician. Like Mika, if you are listening, bro, you are that man. Mika, and so us three were in a session and we were working on a couple of projects, actually. My project, working with Malik, and also doing just random like songwriting. And because we were creating a certain volume of work, I was like, yo, we need to start a collective, or I need to, get all the New Orleans artists that like really like us and like think like us and want to collaborate with us to do some type of project. That would be crazy. We could call it Global Warming is Real. And like no vowels, all underscore, or all undercase, lowercase. And they were like, yeah, that's fire. So like that day I like secured like a Instagram profile, a
Domain,
Twitter profile. I'm like global warming, and then like the picture, the profile photo was like Pangea, and like it was hilarious. It was funny, and I kind of like set it down for a while. Like never really talked about it after that. Didn't really take it seriously myself. It was more of an idea that was like, oh, I'll get to that when it comes time. I was working on my album at the time. I was working on Gravity, which I released last year or 2 years ago. Damn, that's so crazy. 2020 didn't happen, but like it actually didn't happen. But I'm convinced. But yeah, in 2019 and 2018, it was like I was working on the project, and so I kind of put it on hold. And then in 2019, went on tour with Tank and the Bangers, and the tour manager, Nate Cameron, met him for the first time. We really clicked like instantly, pretty much on tour. And I was telling him about this idea that I had, and I had been making, efforts here and there to have sessions, but I wasn't really fully immersing myself in the project. It was more of a, well, now that Gravity is out of the way, I want to make sure that I can like get this collaborative project started. I didn't think that I would actually finish it or that soon. And he told me about his ideas for, the music business side of everything, and how he's even noticed that a lot of times, like even well-known artists in the city will come to him for certain things that are even as small as like, signing up for a PRO or like doing, or just like copyright stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, we all missed these classes. Unless you went to music business school, you taught yourself how to hustle, or you had somebody who had been in the game and had, was successful or made mistakes, tell you like, what to avoid or what to look out for or what to do. You know what I mean? And I think because there's so many people that want to do it in the city and so many people that have so much talent, like it just made sense.
Was there anything like that happening in LA?
I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I think while I live there, I think I'm more in, my tentacles are within a certain community of people that I work with in a way that, I'm sure somebody is thinking of things like this, but I don't know if in New Orleans it has been executed like this. And that's why I felt the need for this to be executed in New Orleans, because we, to me, have the richest, like, culture of musicians, artists, just people, and like, and it's just like, if we weren't motivated to come together like before, I think this project is like a catalyst for what's to come from like the collaborative spirit in New Orleans. And I feel, we have 25 plus artists, 10 producers, 3 different graphic artists, photographers, managers, lawyers, all from the city that are part of the first album, like they're part of volume 1, and we're gonna do like 3 volumes of this. Like there's gonna be, it's a trilogy, y'all, but like I think I love a good trilogy, but I think it's really about making sure that we can come together and really collaborate. And the word, the phrase global warming, obviously for New Orleans, there's that climate side of it that I think obviously New Orleans would be one of the most impacted when, the full fruition of climate change hits the world, receding shorelines and like
I'm definitely looking for property on the North Shore somewhere.
Exactly.
For my kids.
It's kind of scary. It's crazy. It's really crazy. But I think that side is definitely one part of it, in the metaphorical sense of global warming and how the city is heating up and how we're all working together. And, even on this project and around this project, you know what I mean? There's this creative spirit that really makes it what's special to me, because it's so many of us. And this is like 40 plus people on an album, all from New Orleans. This is crazy. I don't even know, you would know better than me probably.
I don't think. I mean,
in the rap space, in the hip hop and R&B space.
Granted, some of them No Limit projects had like 40 people.
Oh, they
on
did.
The project.
Oh, definitely.
But I mean, from what you're talking about, like from different elements and from different cliques, or like
right.
bringing all of those people together. You know, why I asked you that question about anything like that happening in LA? There is something about New Orleans that is unique as far as with the bonds in community. Like, we are a small, big city.
True.
You know what I'm saying? And, you know, me traveling around to other cities and seeing what goes and how people act, and there's not that close-knit relationship. Like, everybody in New Orleans is related some form of fashion.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
Whether it's a cousin or, you know, just what high school you went to, what junior high you went to, like what part of the city you from. Like, there's all of these different layers and levels of relationships that we have that I hope will continue to carry on into all of these different endeavors of us trying to pull together to make something happen. Because, you know, people would always complain that, you know, New Orleans doesn't stick together and we don't do this and we don't. I don't give any energy or credence to any of that, because every time I talk to somebody about it, it's all good. It's like, yo, man, let's do the blah, blah, blah. Boom. You know what I'm saying? You know, when we had when I dropped the first live mixtape and Nate hit me up and was like, yo, that shit is dope. You know, and in the conversation, man, me and Pell, you know, let's do one. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't like, oh, well, and it was like, yo, like, let's connect. Let's make it happen. So, like, that's the energy that I've seen. You know, and I'm happy that is more than just me and my people that see it and are trying to work to make something like that happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need, we just need everybody. I don't even have to say everybody has to be on the same page, but just everybody kind of understand that, you know, it's New Orleans against the world. And if we all are trying to achieve it and make New Orleans be one of those beacons for, you know, music industry stuff, that ain't nothing gonna be able to stop that at all.
No,
you know?
you said it perfect. I think that's what this is, man.
Yeah.
It's proven all that you were talking about New Orleans not working together to be false. And I think that's what's most important outside of the infrastructure that we're setting up for ourselves. I feel like, you know what I mean, because I think we're trying to legitimize doing business with one another is different from just posting your friend's song or like, you know what I mean? Just saying like, oh, well, I tweeted or I retweeted you. It's like, no, I want to go in a session with you. I want to talk about all the things that we're already thinking about on the music business side, or even like just the city at large. And I think it's created a lot of conversations that culminated into a project that it's beautiful. It's beautiful. That's all I can say.
What's up. Well, y'all definitely go check out Global Wrmng. You got a name for the new project that the solo project you're working on yet? I know you said it's coming together.
I have one name, but yeah, it's coming together. It's coming together.
Well, y'all, stay tuned on what's all your socials and all of that. What can people find you at?
Oh yeah, find me at Pell on everything, at PELLYEAH. On everything. Is pretty, you know, branded.
Pell,
Pell, can I get a Pell? It's so funny because I made that handle when I was like 17, and then I just never got rid of it. One day we'll see if I transition, but for now it's still kind of funny. Yeah.
That's what's up. Well, appreciate you coming down, and I mean, you know, we do this anyway, but doing it for the cameras and for the mics.
For sure.
Check out Live Mixtape Volume 2 if you haven't seen it already. And we're going to check y'all out next time right here on Convos from the Yeaux.